Hello everyone, welcome to another Joseki lesson. So in this lesson, let's tackle this move right here, number 7, this peeping move, threatening to cut off white here. So in the previous lesson, we talked about other moves that can respond to white number 6 right here. We talked about this move, we talked about this, and also this attachment underneath. So these three moves are very similar to the responses that black has when white plays here on the third line with number 6. In the age of AI, we also have this peeping move, where number 6 is a one-space jump here on the fourth line. So I'll talk about the theoretical aspect of this Joseki first, or of this move to be more specific, and then I'll talk about more practical aspects, especially for beginners, how to use this Joseki. Well, the short answer is, if you're black, don't play here, at least not yet. So in the past, before 2016, before the age of AI, if you play right here, number 7, people will laugh at you, no doubt. And most players with white in this situation will very happily connect here. And it was believed that this is a very bad exchange for black. Why? Because keeping this one space is good for black. Because eventually, if something like this happens, right, you always have the possibility of cutting white off. I don't know if this works. This probably works, right? Maybe something like this. I don't know. But being able to push here and cut white off, right? Now number 4 and number 6 are separated. This possibility is very important for black. You don't really want to just play on the outside and allow your opponent to connect like this. It's not worth it. Additionally, number 7's shape right here is one stone bumping against a very solid wall here. So number 7 doesn't gain black a lot of potential. So this was our understanding before the age of AI, that number 7 and 8, this whole exchange is clearly bad for black. And no one would want to attempt this. Definitely not the professional players. But in the age of AI, we see AI playing this move. And now we have to try to justify number 7 all of a sudden, right? So this is why you should always be skeptical about these explanations, right? Of course, saving this potential cut is important. And of course, this shape bumping against this wall is bad for black. But are there any benefits to blacks playing number 7 right here? And the answer is not that easy to find. It's more subtle. And it may or may not be beginner friendly, but here it is, right? So we're saying white's shape here is very solid, but it is a double-edged sword, right? When you have 3 stones right next to each other, connected like this at the beginning of a game, we say white's shape is not very efficient. You want your stones to be well spaced, especially at the beginning of a game. But when you're playing this Joseki, if white is forced to play 3 moves consecutively, right here, that's pretty slow. So that's one bad thing for white, and potentially a good thing for black. And what happens after white plays number 8 is right here, number 9, which is more confusing, right? Because we said these days, playing right here at D18 is a slow move. White can simply ignore black if black plays here at number 7. Similarly, in some of the previous videos, I talked about how number 7 here, in response to the small knight's move at number 6, is also a slow move. It's mostly eliminated, this Joseki. And we think now that this is slightly worse for black. Although for beginners, amateurs, you can call this even, but no professional players with black stones would play this Joseki anymore. So why all of a sudden, after this exchange, black has to play right here? And the Joseki, just to finish this off, is either white can play elsewhere, again, take sente, play on the other corners, or white can play something here on the side. Both choices are okay for white, and that's the Joseki right here. So pretty confusing. We didn't have this before 2016, but why is number 9 all of a sudden a good move? And the reason is not because coming here into the corner is lucrative for black. We talked about this, right? So if black's number 7 is here, white will be very happy to take sente. Sometime down the line, if black comes in here, 7 and 9, this is pretty good, right? Taking the corner, but it's not great. And it's not the most efficient way to take the corner. So this is really not about taking the corner. This is about putting pressure on this white group. So after white has played 4, 6, and 8, white's shape is very heavy, right? So this is another concept that might be a little difficult for beginners to comprehend, but you're gonna hear people say which shapes are lighter, which shapes are heavier. This is clearly very heavy because these stones are connected together. So now if white plays elsewhere and sometime down the line, black can pincer here to put some pressure on the white group, right? So if white is forced to play here at the 3-3 point, now look at these 4 white stones. They're very close together, they're not surrounding a whole lot of territory, and they're very slow and inefficient. And that's black's goal, trying to put pressure on white. So white will have to move into the corner and form this very inefficient shape. So that is what number 9 is trying to achieve. It's taking away white's potential ice space here on the corner and setting up this potential attack here on the left side. One important thing to note for beginners is that when people say attack, they really just mean to try to attack, putting some pressure on the white group. It does not mean trying to kill. So when black plays here, white can most probably live with number 12. But black's goal is not to kill white, because that's unrealistic. Black's goal is just to get white into this very inefficient shape at the beginning of a game. And black is already very successful here on the upper left. Now compare this shape to this. If black plays here first, white ignores it, and now if black tries to attack, white is very light with 4 and 6. White can potentially play something like this, moving toward the right side. But with number 7 and 8, this exchange first, white cannot really play on the right side, right? Cannot play at number 12, it will just be cut off. And it's very hard for white to try to move to the right side. So that's what number 7 does. Also, it's important for black to play at number 9. Black cannot take sente, because now this diagonal attachment, this kicking move, is very, very important for white. Even if white has gote and black has sente in this situation, this corner is extremely solid after number 7 and 8, because this weakness in white's shape here is gone. And if white is allowed to surround the corner with number 10 and number 12, this is very, very good for white. This corner is almost 20 points, and black is very thin. Number 5, 7, and 11 are very thin here on the outside. So that is why black must follow up with number 9. Black cannot take sente, otherwise this corner is just too big, and black already cannot come in and take away white's territory. So that's it. This is the Joseki. White can take sente, but of course if you're a beginner, you're nervous about being attacked and pressured, potentially killed, I wouldn't worry about being killed, but if you're nervous about being attacked, it's perfectly fine to play a move here on the left side to finish this Joseki. However, this Joseki is not that easy, because white can also play in a few other places. Here, here, or here. And we only talked about D right here. This one possibility. And A, B, and C will lead to more complicated patterns, because these moves will leave this cut open. And this is where this Joseki will get really, really complicated. As I said in other videos before, Josekis are things that can get really complicated really fast, so it's always difficult to know what is beginner friendly and what is not. I'm trying to make these videos more beginner friendly, so let's talk about the practical aspect of this Joseki. So if you're black in this situation, after your opponent played number 6, and you know that this will potentially lead to really complicated sequences, because your opponent doesn't have to play this. If your opponent plays this, great. You should follow up with number 9, and depending on what your opponent does, this finishes the Joseki. Or you can respond to your opponent's moves elsewhere. Number 9 finishes the Joseki this way. However, knowing that your opponent can play these other moves, they're potentially super complicated. If you're black and you're a beginner, if you're nervous about complicated variations, you should avoid number 7 and play this attachment underneath instead. Or even play this move. It's a little slow, but it's perfectly playable for beginners. So practically speaking, if you're black, and if you're nervous about complicated variations, just avoid number 7. Now if you're white in this situation, what should you do? Again, we already know a very simple Joseki, and that is just to connect here. So if you're white, and if you're afraid of really complicated variations, just play at number 8 when your opponent plays the PEEP at number 7. And if you're afraid of being attacked or pressured, just finish the Joseki by adding a move here on the left side, and you'll be perfectly fine. So that's the practical aspect of this Joseki. We know this simple pattern. It can be played by both sides. If you want to avoid complication, if you're white in this situation, just play at number 8. If you're black and you want to avoid complications, do not play at number 7, because in the next video, I'll talk about some of the very complicated patterns that this whole Joseki can turn into when white refuses to just connect here and place something else, like this, or this. The next video will certainly not be beginner friendly, but it's very important for beginners to know that there are all these moves and all these very complicated variations out there. So you have to think twice before you yourself tries this move. It can potentially be really dangerous. So once again, the key to this video is this Joseki. Right here, white can take sente or play a move here on the left side. Wherever you want should be okay. And we're going to get into some of the complications in the next video. Again, thank you for your patience. I know these videos are a little slow, but it's very, very important to know exactly what is going on with number 7, number 8, and number 9. You just have to know why these moves are played, instead of just remembering that these are the right moves. As always, thank you for your support. If you like these videos, please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.